gentlemen, and welcome to another BTS Live, Loss and Grief. I am Kadene Chambers, and tonight my wonderful guest is Yvonne Pubien. What are we talking about? You see, I'm still smiling, though we're talking about loss and grief. And tonight I'm smiling for more reasons than one, because Yvonne is now my very good friend, and I'm always happy just to hang out with her. And even though we're talking about something that, could be a little bit sad, what we've been doing this entire loss and grief series is we've found ways of presenting the information and discussing the information that doesn't cause us to devolve into, tears and sadness and depression, which is important. It's important to have the difficult conversations in such a way that it doesn't feel overwhelming. You understand? And I know that you've been enjoying the series, so we appreciate all the feedback. Tonight we're talking about loss and grief, but this time we're not focusing on the death of a loved one. We'll be talking about retirement. Yes, you heard me right. Retirement. And so I know some of you might be going, retirement? What does that have to do with loss and grief? But you'll see in a minute, because this is something that I am excited to share with you, because I want to make sure that more persons are truly aware that it isn't just about death or the end of a relationship when people experience loss and grief, right? And so the truth is, when we live our lives, our careers, our jobs take up a majority of our lives, and that is the truth. And many of us identify with our jobs and our careers in a deep way. So just think about that for a second. If you've identified as, this person or that kind of person with your title associated with this company or the other, seeing these people day after day after day, and then something happens and, you're at this place and then that is no longer. Think about it. You're going to feel sad. And sad is an understatement. Now, Yvonne was a police officer for more than 2 decades. Mm-hmm. And so I'm interested in so many things about her life story, and we're going to dive into it. So Yvonne, how long were you a police officer for?
So I spent 22 years as a police officer with the city of Lauderhill. Prior to that, I did corrections about 3 years. So about 25 years in law enforcement.
25 years, and she's speaking so softly, so soft. You're trying to figure out, how is this police officer so soft-spoken?
I know, right? Take some cleaning up around the edges.
I don't know about that. She is a gem. So you were a police officer for 25 years, around 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you look so young. So yeah, I know you can see it. So it means that you got into law enforcement at an early age.
Right. I think, looking back, I think I was at least 22 or 23 when I started the profession. Somewhere around that age, 22 or 23.
Okay. All right. And tell me, what made you get involved in, why did you choose that career path?
Well, initially I wanted to be a teacher. I like doing workshops. I like working with little kids, and I like having discussions, right? So teachers seemed like it was going to be the best fit for me. Some kind of way, after having my first son, it kind of flipped into I need money, right? So it went from I want to be a teacher to I need to make some decent money, and I end up in law enforcement through corrections. Once I became a correctional officer and I had a chance to see all the young men. Now I'm a mother of 3 boys, right? And so my boys were small at that time, and I was seeing these young men come into prison and them trying to navigate in prison. And they were there, and they were going to be there for years to come, right? So I could only imagine the mothers losing their sons at these early ages to prison. So after working in one particular dorm, there were so many traumatic things that even happened there. But I knew if I truly wanted to make a difference in law enforcement, my mind started changing. Like, you got to do something before they get here.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm thinking about my own boys, and I got 3 sons, and what if they end up here? So that was nerve-wracking along. So I was like, no. I got to find a way to be involved way before time. So that led me into law enforcement as a to consider being a police officer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was it. Me thinking about other mothers and their boys, and me having my own sons. Law enforcement just seemed like it was the avenue to reach them, right? And so I went and did the crossover course. I started my career out at Florida City Police Department and landed in the city of Lauderhill. So I want to say I spent my first 3 years doing road patrol, getting acclimated to being a police officer. But within my 3rd year, I knew what my niche was. Mm-hmm. I enjoy working with teenagers. I enjoy developing programs and just problem solving. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, they get in trouble because they don't necessarily have the answers to some of their problems. And as a law enforcement officer, we had avenues. We had partnerships, right? So I could take those partnerships, and if I ran into an individual and they were getting in trouble selling drugs, okay, well, why are you selling drugs, mm-hmm. right? Okay, so you know literally you can be running a company. So those are some of the conversations that I would have with them, like, okay, let's just take the whole idea that it's a crime away, and let's talk about all the things that you have to do to do this. You got to stay hidden, all these
requires talent and skills, yes.
right? And skills that you have, and the motivation.
Yes,
you're motivated to stay away from us, and do. And so with that, building those partnerships and putting resources in the community and connecting people with the resources that they need, I knew that was my thing, right? So community policing was my life in police. I stayed in community policing, I want to say, more than half of my career, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Wow, I'm speechless. I know we've had a version of this conversation already, but we didn't dive into it from that perspective. Mm-hmm. And I'm impressed for what led you into the police force, and to know that it was about caring for young people and wanting to make a difference.
Right.
And so for 25 years, you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me then, right, the role that your career played in your life. Tell me.
So, it was a major role because I got my kids involved also. While my kids were growing up, going to high school, so they wouldn't allow them to work summer jobs, right? So I hired my own kids. I had the ability to work specific programs, and during the summer, my kids would actually come to work with me, and they would be my youth counselors for the programs. The police department loved the idea because, hey, you got free volunteers to work for you, right? And it just made the programs more intimate, more like, those were my kids.
Yes.
Because my kids were with those kids, mm-hmm. right? And so we were a family. And my kids grew up doing volunteer work and working alongside, seeing the disparities that happen in certain communities. So it taught them a lot, mm-hmm. right? So now I'm looking back, all of my kids are somewhere either in law enforcement or working with kids, life coaches or something. So
it had an impact on them.
It had an impact on them. So law enforcement was good to me, and it was good for my family, and it was good for the community. So okay, wonderful career. And
mm-hmm. I know that when you got to the age of to the time when you were able to retire, after at what stage? How long do you have to serve, and then you get to retirement?
So you serve 20 years and you're eligible for retirement. You can go into the drop program. So initially, my plan was to spend a couple of years in the drop program.
What's the drop program?
So the drop is where you can make this astronomical amount of money, right?
Wow.
Just showing up for work, showing up for duty. And yeah, you still come to work. You're no longer paying into your pension. You're getting a nice paycheck, and you're slated in a group of people who's in that drop, and that money is being put aside. So when you get ready to retire, you're going to walk away with a big lump sum.
Okay.
Right. So I opted out for that. By the time the police department is an ever changing culture, right? So I had wonderful days, but I also had stressful days. And towards the ending of my career, you saw more things on the news with police officers getting involved with incidents at the schools and incidents on the road and stuff. And my husband was another big advocate for me to say, like, it's time to go, right? There's other things that we wanted to do as far as business and family life, and so I knew I was ready to go at that point, right? Because things were changing like real fast, and I made a decision because the police department, I have a good working relationship with our chief and with the command staff. They wanted me to stay longer, but my gut told me it was time to go. So I felt confident in knowing that day when I turned in my resignation, my 2-week notice, that I was gonna go ahead and retire. Like, I felt good about it, right? I was anticipating it, right? All excited about it. And then something happened that, oh my God, I never.
Yes, because that's what I want to hear about now.
Yeah.
So at this point now, you are ready because things were changing and you weren't necessarily happy with what you were seeing. It was taking a toll on you mentally,
Right.
I'm supposing, and emotionally. All right. So describe what it was like then, just after retiring, because you were looking forward to it and you were ready. And then what happened?
Yeah. So the first couple of weeks was nice, right?
Because you were resting.
Yeah, just resting. You're able to go. You own your time, and you're just able to do all the things that you told yourself. Like, I told myself, I'm gonna get up every morning and I'm gonna go to the beach. Right? I told myself that, right? So I started preparing to do those things that I kept telling myself I was going to do. And all of a sudden, after maybe a month or 2 months, I want to say really 2 months had settled in, I started having dreams.
Tell me about those dreams.
Oh my goodness. So
You don't have to give us the details, but just give me an idea.
But I was having nightmares.
My God.
I was actually dreaming I was in uniform. I'm standing in the chief office and I'm telling her, like, I didn't retire. Like, you guys made a mistake. Or I'm dreaming I'm on a call. I kept having these reoccurring dreams, and they got bad.
Oh my.
It got really bad. And I'm saying to myself, what is going on with me? To the point where I went to my husband. I was like, I need for you to pray for me. Because I felt like, I almost felt like I was losing my mind.
Oh my. Okay.
Right? Because it was ongoing.
She said that so low. Did you hear? She said that she felt like she almost was losing her mind.
I really did, Kadene. It was like an ongoing thought. And the thoughts that were coming were, well, what are you going to do with yourself?
Because you're still so young. Of course you are.
Okay, I'm going to accept that. I'm going to accept that.
So
Yes, I'm still young and vibrant.
Right,
yes.
right. Full of life. And, so this was feelings of worthlessness at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, you're no longer, when I see a police car pass by, I felt something I never felt before.
Tell me about that.
There was like this distance, like trying to, Katie, I almost can't even describe it, but there was something that was happening that when I saw police officers, a part of me wanted to go and talk, and that wasn't the norm. Like, I wanted to do the total opposite.
Because that was your identity for 25 years.
Waking up, putting on a uniform, putting on a gun belt, and here I am waking up, and
that's supposed to be you, because the first weeks or whatever it was would have felt like being on vacation. Exactly.
It was exactly like being on vacation.
Yeah.
After the second month, the third month, I was like, oh my God. And then the dreams didn't make it any better, along with the thoughts of, who are you? What are you going to do? You're nobody. And like, I'm a very positive person,
Yeah,
right?
yes, you are.
I believe in self-talk. So I'm not that person that wake up in the morning to be like, oh, you're worthless. I'm that person that wake up in the morning like, girl, you got this. Everything is going to be great. You're going to do this. I get my schedule together. Chop, 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 right? I wasn't waking up like that. I was waking up sitting in the bed wondering. I was washing my sheets on my bed every other day. And then it started in a routine of every day me taking the sheets off the bed, washing them.
Something to do.
Yeah. And then my husband, like, he normally was calling me. And I don't know if this is because I was going through this change. I just felt isolated. I felt nobody was giving me the attention. Like, who are you now? Who are you? You're just Yvonne. And I had never really heard people call me by my name. Because my name has always been Pubien. For 20-something years, it's Pubien, Officer Pubien.
Yes.
Right? And then they're saying Yvonne now. Who is Yvonne?
Yeah.
Right? And so literally, I asked my husband to pray for me.
But hold on. You recognize now that was an identity crisis, right? So just so we understand, if you've been doing this thing where you play a particular role, and we're talking about our work, our job, our career, for decades,
you don't know how internally and ingrained that get in your system, because I could tell you, you have police officers that they walk around and they make you know they're a police officer, right? I was different. People, if you didn't see the uniform, you almost didn't know I was a police officer, unless it was time for me to, to transform, right? So that was that part of me. But from the day-to-day thing, it was my uniform that identified me as a police officer. It wasn't because I was walking around with this whole macho type of I'm the law. No, it wasn't that. So when all of these thoughts and the feelings of regret, that's what it was. It was regret.
Tell me why you were regretful. Why you think, now that you're looking back, why was it regret and not, let's say, depression? Tell me about regret.
You don't never want to live in it. Don't stay there. You make a decision. Whatever that outcome from that decision, live with it, move on from it.
So you were regretful that you made the decision to leave, or that you are now feeling this way?
That I was feeling that way, because as time went on and I kind of understood what was happening, because it took prayer. Prayer was what brought me out of this. As I took time to pray about it and acknowledge what was happening with me, nobody but God said, the same way that these things are bombarding you, the words, the self-worth, it was bombarding me. Like I was
so you
hearing
couldn't get a mental break.
Right. It was like, you need to do the same thing. Bombard yourself with affirmations.
Cover yourself with the words.
Put the word of God in you.
Yes.
Know who you are in God. And when I started doing that, all of a sudden, I was okay.
But so how long after you started your retirement did you start feeling, that the fall off? So when did the vacation feeling end?
About 2 to 3 months.
Okay, 2 to 3 months. And then how long were you in that space of?
So maybe about a 6-month period.
So for 6 months,
about 6
you
months.
struggled.
I was
in that
struggling.
mental space of despair and
what to do with me. And it wasn't like I didn't have anything to do. I started a routine of going to exercise. It was just this feeling of worthlessness.
And I'm happy you point that out, that it wasn't that you didn't have anything to do. Because what I understand is that when many persons start retirement and start feeling the challenge of the identity crisis, and they might say to friends or people around them, many times the response from the persons who they're communicating with is, you gotta find something to do.
Yeah.
Like, be busy. Or, I mean, you've been working all this time and complaining about the stress of work. You should be enjoying your retirement. I wish it was me that had all that time. And they don't understand until they're there, eh?
Yep.
So, because an identity crisis is a big deal. If you identify as this person for such a long time, it's going to take a serious adjustment.
Yeah.
To
You know how long it took me a minute to stop walking in the room and identifying myself as a retired police officer.
Sorry.
I was like,
so for long after you would walk in and say, I'm a retired police officer.
yeah, I'm like, why are you saying that? I had asked her, why are you saying that?
Because
You're Yvonne.
you still got to say police officer
Right.
with you. Yeah.
Right. For
Yeah.
a minute,
Yeah.
that was just a reoccurring thing. And then when I was like, wait, let's back this up. Let's continue this growth and acknowledgement that there's still worth in you. God still has a plan for you. Your days, your days down the road is just as good or even better than the days that you had. And it sat on me one day like, you should be thanking God. You had the opportunity to work for the police department and allow the police department to train you for your next destination, for your new you. So when I start reflecting back and realizing those were training grounds, things that I was learning and preparing for who I am today.
I love it.
And I don't have to deny who I was then, but that doesn't have to be the driving force of where I'm going and who I am today. I don't have to tell people I was a police officer to feel important or feel,
Hold on. Yeah, because I think you didn't lead when we met by saying that at all. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I love so many things about Yvonne, and I told her, by the way, where I'm from, we pronounce that word. Her name, Yvonne. But, she says, I'm Yvonne. You know what I love about Yvonne? One of the things? Her level of self-awareness. The work that she described as having done to get her through the despair and the feelings of, I'm sure there was some, it's just the stress and the mental toll. She couldn't have done it without being self-aware. There are people who need to go into therapy, get counseling, to have somebody to help them work through it. Because they can't even begin to identify where the challenges are stemming from. They don't understand why they feel this way. These are the people who get up and say, but I was ready to retire. And I don't understand why I'm feeling like this. And they will struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle. And if they don't have the right people around them who can give them that support or share the right kind of information, they're going to stay stuck.
So this is why throughout my career, I saw this. And I asked myself, like, am I going to become this person? There's times that early on in my career, I would run into law enforcement officers who were retired years and years ago, and say if I'm out buying lunch or whatever, I'm in my police uniform, or I'm just out and about, and I meet up with this person through some kind of interaction or whatever, and they identify, I'm a retired police officer, and I always wondered, like, and they want to talk cop talk with you. They want to start talking about this, that, and the other. And when I retired and all this started happening, I started is that going to be me? So I understood and I sympathize because they don't have anything in place. And I won't say they don't, but at least my department, I didn't see anything in place to say, there's probably going to be a process you go through, and if you need to come back because you're retired on good standards, if you need to come back and talk to somebody, or maybe we're gonna, if you're leaving in 2 weeks, let us help you navigate through what that's gonna look like for you.
You can be my co-host anytime, because that was something that I was going to talk about, in the fact that definitely the police force and let's just say all of the government agencies, because people tend to work in government agencies for decades, right? So definitely government agents, and they have the budget, right? So I'm thinking that it would be a good thing if the government and larger corporations, definitely those that can afford it, should have a program in place to assist the person who are going into retirement. Exactly, to make the transition process smooth. To tell you, what to expect as potentially possible in terms of the anxiety and the stress, and just transitioning from being this person
and to being
somebody new.
Yeah. Because you have to totally identify yourself all over again.
Yeah.
Who am I? I actually had to start asking myself, really, what do I like?
Yeah.
Not the police officer Yvonne.
Yeah.
What does Yvonne like?
You had to find yourself.
Yeah.
You had to find yourself.
I went to go and buy a car, and in the process of buying that car, there's even a transition when you're okay. So not only was I retiring, my kids were at an age they were just moving out.
Oh my goodness!
So many things.
Listen,
like, I've been waiting for them to leave too, right? And all of a sudden, I ain't got nobody to cook for. Kadene, it was like everything piled on me, and here I am home every day trying to figure out. And it wasn't that I didn't have anything to do or couldn't find anything to do.
So much was changing. Much was changing.
So fast.
And change so fast. And change is always, most times, challenging. And you see, I'm happy that you even brought up the fact that becoming an empty nester also can trigger feelings of loss and grief.
Yeah.
Because again, anything that causes a massive shift in how you identify yourself and your daily routines can cause mental toll, mental anguish. Because let's talk about being a parent, right? So we're talking about retirement, but I'm happy that you mentioned this, because this is also a thing.
Yeah.
So when persons who have been parents who are just involved in their children's lives, like I know you were with your boys and still are,
right?
When they get to that place where you, as you say,
they don't need you, no.
Yeah.
And it's not that they don't need you, but they're able to take care of themselves.
They're self-sufficient.
Exactly. They are doing just what you prepared them
Yes,
for.
and at this point, all the things that you used to do for them took up so much of your time as well,
Yeah.
So now you're like, I got all this time. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? So I get it, and these aren't even things that the average person thinks about until we are in that space. I'm pausing and thinking because I don't know what my daughter says. She's never moving out. I don't know if that's true. She's just saying that. Even I've been saying that. She goes, "I'm gonna buy a house next door to yours." She says, "I'm going grocery shopping in your, so let's in my house. So let's see, because I'm processing that. Okay, all right. I need to condition my mind for that. I'm in the media space. I'm never leaving. I'll just find something else to do. As I have been doing. So I don't know about that retirement feeling, but at least I'm aware, and I'm really hoping that our viewers are pausing to really process what we're talking about, and that this allows them to express empathy to persons around them, especially when you're in the workplace. I remember years ago, right, when I was working. I used to work for one of the largest media houses, media groups in the Caribbean. And shortly after I started working there, because I worked there for quite a while, and I love the company, there was a lady who was much, much older, and she had retired shortly after I got there. So I don't even remember her name now. And then she would go off for a few months, and then you'd see her in the office again. And then you'd see her, and God bless what she was there doing, And I remember I'm thinking, or somebody was having the conversation, why is Miss such and such here? She's not really doing anything, And somebody said, she's been working here for like 40 years or something like that. She's retired. She doesn't. I'm trying to remember if she had kids. I'm gonna have to ask my friend. I don't remember if she had kids, but her home life was just her. So the company is really so amazing. They just allowed her to come back in and to shuffle some papers around to give her that sense of something to do and a place to belong and somewhere to go.
Yeah, if you don't rediscover who you are after you make the transition, there's a lot of people that I have seen commit suicide.
Oh, Lord.
Go into depression, isolation, all those things. And you wonder how these things happen but I actually lived through the process of it. So now when I look back on it, I can see like, yeah.
Maybe we should start a program that we're helping retirees.
Yeah.
Maybe we should
Help them really.
as they transition.
Yeah. There needs to be something in place to still give them the value and let them know that, they're still worth something.
And as you say that, if this is an issue for our culture, right? In terms of the fact that we place so much emphasis on people's jobs.
Yeah.
On people's careers. That is primarily where the pressure is coming from. Because we're cultured to feel that you are somebody based on the job that you do, the career that you have, based on the title that you hold. That's the problem.
Well, I don't think it's too much of a problem anymore. I don't know. I think
Tell me about it.
I think COVID changed some things, right? Because I'm telling you, it's a new breed. It's a new breed that I see young adults leaving corporate jobs and going to work for Publix, Instacart, making decent money, DoorDash,
yes.
All these drive and go, Amazon.
So the gig economy is just booming, yes.
So I'm seeing they're not stuck in their minds that a position identifies them.
So I think that there is that sector, and I agree, but I still think that, you see, largely corporate people, they still like to tell you that I'm a lawyer.
Yeah. We still have them.
And while that is largely true here for us in the US, because the gig economy is such a big deal here, you still have other countries across the world that
are driven by that hierarchy of where you fall in position and title.
Listen, I don't ask people where they work. I ask people what they do or what they enjoy doing. I don't ask people where they work because
How do people answer that from you?
They pause usually because it's not a question, like it's not worded like that often. But it's important that I word it that way because I am not okay with us placing people in boxes based on the school that they attended and the company that they're working for. So they pause and they'll tell me, oh, I'm in, and they'll tell you which industry or field, because you see, it levels the playing field in my mind when I say to you, what do you do, instead of saying, where do you work? Because you have some people who are embarrassed isn't the word, but they're not excited to tell you that they work at a gas station, let's say, for example, right? And so, because again, we're cultured to feel that you are more important based on the company that you work at and the title that you have. So when I say, what do you do? If you're in customer service, you get to tell me that you're in customer service. You don't tell me that you work at a gas station. That's irrelevant. What do you do? You understand? Yeah. And if you're not doing anything more than your own thing, you get to say, well, right now I'm working on, I have a couple of projects that I'm working on. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You level the playing field, so you're working on a couple of projects, and I'm like, oh, tell me about it. What kind of projects are you working on? And so they say, well, right now I'm working on a book of poetry, and they start listing some things that it isn't the traditional place of getting out there and going to work. They're working on things that they're passionate about, and they're more relaxed and comfortable, and they get to tell me about themselves. I don't want to hear that you work at John Cocker and Company. I don't care about your title, and I never ask people what school they attended. Never. I don't know. It's still such a question that people still ask.
They do, because I was asked that question. I was like, wait, hold on. Excuse me. Let me think about that one.
Yeah, I was asked that question yesterday. Probably yesterday. What school? And I went, what school? You mean high school or university? What is it? And they were like, yeah, high school. I'm like, okay, Montego Bay High School. What do you want? You understand? So, but those kinds of questions make some people feel stressed because they understand that this happens, that they are assessed based on their answer. people, and a lot of people ask that question, are asking specifically to do that, to decide how much worth to accord to the person. That thing worth. How do I speak to you? Are you worth my time? Are you worth me pausing what I'm doing and looking at you while you're speaking? You understand? Whereas, so this is why I'm asking you, so what school did you attend? Like, what the,
and so this is what was so strange to me, because again, as a police officer, I did a lot of community events. I would be the one that they want me to go and speak or go, and I'm the one saying no, because I'll go over and I'll help the janitor start cleaning up around, or I'll start fixing stuff up and making sure things, I'll start managing things, making sure everything is, people are taken care of, giving people hospitality. And I was just never the everyday police officer. They say
I can tell.
She kissed the babies, and now when it was time to take you to jail, you going to jail, right?
I can't even imagine that. Yeah. She's such a gem.
If I gotta put my hands on you, if need be, I would do that. But for the foremost, you could talk to people. You know, there are so many times that I've taken people to jail, and by the end of the night, they're like, "Will you be my baby godmother, Miss?" So they became friends with me at the end. So I loved my job. God knows, I really loved my job, working with people. And when it was time to go, in my spirit, I knew it was time to go. I knew, and look, I'm doing just what I wanted to do.
Which is where we're leading now, because, you see, for somebody who keeps thinking that, this is not her thing and she's not ready, listen to me. Can you tell? She's a natural. So, no. What I want us to look at right now is, finding yourself again. And hope. Because when you mentioned that a lot of people that you've heard of over the years who retired, and then just the stress of dealing with the transition and it not going well, died by suicide. What they were missing was hope. So that's so important. So you were explaining that you found yourself again through overpowering the voices that you had in your head telling you that you were worthless at this point.
Right.
All right. So, so we talked about that. So that's how you found yourself again. Was that all, or was there more to that process of finding yourself? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you see, I am not at my usual spot at my desk. I am in Yvonne's spot. And where is our spot? Nailed it. DIY Studio, Fort Lauderdale. Listen, she has the most amazing art studio.
I'm glad.
Listen,
you
love it. I told her I could move in. I love it, right? And she's here doing some amazing work. She's partnering with some amazing people and touching lives. She's still working with young people, but I will not steal her thunder. Just letting you know that, I'm showing you a clip as well of the studio and her doing her thing. So you'll see that as well. Was there anything else what was that process like after you started to work on quietening the voices in your head? I know it didn't just disappear overnight. It was a process.
It was a process.
Okay, so how did you find that hope next now?
So I started doing the things that I said I was gonna do, and little by little, things just started flowing again, flowing naturally. And ideas started coming back up about what am I going to do? What do I really enjoy doing? I had the opportunity, a young lady called me up and she's like, I want to do a annual back to school backpack giveaway. I know you've done them before. Can you help me? And I was like, oh my goodness, like, oh yes. So I jumped on her team with and took the reins. Like I had to try to control myself without taking over the whole project, right? So we went to breakfast. I'm already handing out what we're gonna do, giving out assignments. So I know that part, that's me. That's not just the police officer, that is me. That's Yvonne. And so we did this back to school event. It was amazing. We raised money and brought 150 book bags, filled them up with all the items that the kids, now mind you, I used to get paid to go and spend all this time to do this, and I wasn't getting paid, and it was a joy in my life.
Wow.
So I knew, like, this is what makes me happy. And it wasn't just because I was a police officer. I really enjoy doing this, bringing people together for a purpose and helping people. So we did the back to school event, tied it in with the kids did a vision board, envision themselves in school and what their year was going to look like. The parents joined in, the parents were praying. It was a fantabulous day. It was an all-day event, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So I started back working on my nonprofit. Prior to leaving the police department, I started a project called the Gift Project, Guardians Involved for Tomorrow. And during that time, I just took some time to write those things out, put them on paper, start doing some research into what I needed to do in order to make this a nonprofit business. Put it on paper, send it up, and it got approved.
Wow.
So here I am with a whole nonprofit, but realizing, of course, we needed some funding, and I wanted to work specifically with the foster care. For many, many years, I don't know what the driving force. I just knew I was going to be doing something with the foster care. At one point, I thought I was going to be adopting kids, right? And yeah, I had my own 3 kids, and they made me change my mind every week. Like, no, I'm gonna wait till you guys are gone. But I knew I had something inside of me that connected me with foster care kids. And lo and behold, after I started the nonprofit, this idea just kept popping up in my mind of substance and kids creating. And then all of a sudden, nailed it. Started popping up on my feed line. Went out to South Carolina, met with the owners, did the whole thing with the franchise, and realized that, yeah, this would be a good thing. And so I invested in it, came back, and then the funniest thing happened. They called me back to the police department because they couldn't get nobody to fill my position. And when they called me back to the police department, now it was like, no, I'm in my happy place. Yes. I'm at peace. Yeah. I'm at peace with who I am.
You found yourself.
Yeah. And it was really no. But God had some channels, and I think God needed to uproot some things out of me about who I thought I was during that time. And that one, because it was literally 1 year, that 1 year cycle helped me to uproot so many different things and realize, like, it wasn't the police department that made me do what I did, because I almost identified what I was doing as that was my job.
I'm happy that you pointed that out, because what I picked up from what you said not too long ago was that you enjoyed working on the projects and working with the kids, and while your mind probably associated it with a job, with the work, you hadn't processed that was you at your core, and that's what drove you, that you were excited to do those things and you enjoyed it, and that wasn't about the job. Right. It was really you.
It was really me.
Right. But that had missed you.
So in your careers, a lot of time there is a you that's definitely
always
in there.
You're always there.
Yeah. That a part of what you're doing and you're passionate about keeps you centered in whatever career you're in.
I agree with you.
That is there. And you can't lose that part if you just start digging backwards. And again, that book bag event, made me go, no, this was me. This wasn't the police department. This wasn't because I was getting paid. That's me. And it helped me start propelling myself in a direction that I knew I wanted. I wanted to continue working with the community, working with our youth, and providing something that was going to be of substance.
So, you listen. You've been doing an amazing job, and I'm so glad and so grateful that I met you and that we're friends. I am lucky. So, let's talk about thriving in new pursuits after retiring, because as we wrap up this episode of BTS and then move into the gems. So we talked about the fact that, okay, you've recognized now that some of the core things that you enjoyed about your job it was really Yvonne all this time. And then you came across an opportunity and you realized that it was perfect for you, and you said, I'm doing this. So let's talk about how you're now thriving and doing your own thing. Yeah. And so many things, because ladies and gentlemen, though she's talking about the studio, that is not the only thing. Man, I don't know how she finds time.
I know, right? I'm still in time. I don't know who I'm stealing it from, but I be still in time. But yeah, opening the studio, and one thing I did have to recognize was the nonprofit side and my franchise side. I have to keep that balance of knowing this is my heart, the nonprofit side of it, and I let this be the driving force, because this was what I carried in me all those years at the police department, and it drives the force of nailed it come alongside of gift, and it has been a good, well-working oil machine. And we opened up right in the beginning of COVID. Yeah. Like, I didn't know if we was opening up or shutting down. We was open one day and closed the next because nobody could come. Yeah. But we're still here. We're still thriving, building partnerships, because, again, people come in and they see it's not just a business. They see my heart in this. Yes. They see the things the value that the kids are getting out of this. And even adults. I have adult women and men, right? So this not just a ladies thing. This is a guy thing also. I have guys in here. They lose control. They lose control of themselves. They're all into the paint, getting up, having people autograph their work. Yes. They become artists, right?
Listen, I did my piece, and mine is displayed on my bookshelf at home. So the next BTS live that I shoot from home, you will see it.
Oh, we should have your piece too. Yeah,
we're working on it. Listen. I am excited, and listen, we are in Lauderdale at this point, and share the address for Nail It DIY Studio for Lauderdale.
So 5139 North University Drive. You can't miss us. Like, you know what? We are kind of hidden, but when you step into the doors and you walk through the studio, most people don't want to leave. You walk in and the music is playing and the arts and all the beautiful pieces are here, and the ambiance. There's just an ambiance about this place.
Yes, it is inviting, and it tells you when you step in that you can create magic. That's what it says to you. It screams at you, or it whispers, depending on what's going on with you. But when I come through these doors, I was blown away. I was speechless. And ladies and gentlemen, I am not often speechless. But I felt so at home also. Can I tell you? I felt at home.
We stayed here. We talked for like maybe 3-4 hours,
almost. And that wasn't the
day
plan.
Before a holiday, right?
It was supposed to be a quick look at the place, probably 15-20 minutes at most. I was here for like 3 hours. But and I gained a lifelong friend.
Same here.
So we're good, And I am excited for this episode of BTS Live, Loss and Grief, because we got to shed light on the challenges that one experiences during the transition period of going into retirement, and how hard that can be. But of course, one of the key things about this series is not just to talk about the challenges, but also to identify how the challenges were met and overcome. And Yvonne has been amazing in sharing her story. So she said when the voices were in her head telling her that she's now worthless because who are you? What are you gonna do? You're not anybody at this point if you're not doing something, if you don't have a job, if you don't no longer can identify with being a police officer and this and that she had to get back into her head to say, I am worthy, I am great, she had to counteract all of that and then embraced who she was as she went on this quest to figure out, who is Yvonne?
Every day I'm discovering new things about myself.
Still.
Yeah, still.
I love it.
Yeah. I was sitting, like I have this thing with my hair, like you guys. This is Mr. Claude Pubien's thing, right? Because I love my hair tucked away, nice, clean, sleek. And I always thought that was okay, because I was a police officer, and I just knew, like, when I leave the police force, I'm gonna let my hair down. I still find myself, I tie my hair up. I keep it short. I like structure. Has nothing to do with the police department. Yes. I like structure. I like the fact that it's organized, is set. I know what it's supposed to be, and I can work like that. I don't work good in chaos.
You see?
And that's just me.
She's self-aware.
Yeah.
She's learning herself more and more each day because she's paying attention and she's open. I love that.
Yeah, I stop and ask myself, why did you do that? I ask myself those questions.
It sounds like me. I think I'm her twin. I love it. This is where we're going to leave it for this episode of BTS Live, Loss and Grief. We've been talking about retirement and the whole challenge of transitioning and all that comes with it that people are most often unprepared for. And Yvonne has beautifully shared with us how she has overcome, and now she's at a place where she is thriving in new pursuits. Yvonne, it has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Kadene. It's been a pleasure being your guest as always.
Yes. And please stay with us for next week's Gems. We're coming up shortly. Thank you. Clearly.
Some people are artistic, but some people are autistic.
Really?
I want that.